are some more affordable, unconventional lenses that can give you that vintage look. Here are the categories. We have vintage extreme, modern vintage, and modern extreme. And of course we have the classic vintage lens, which I covered in depth in my previous video, so check that out after this. So what do I mean by vintage extreme? Well, sometimes when we adapt an older lens, we get the characteristics that we want, like your classic stuff with swirly bokeh, soft blooming highlights, and sometimes it goes really blooming over the top. And that's what I mean with this category. My first choice in this category is the Pentax 110 lenses. They are absolutely teeny tiny. They come from this camera, which takes a 110 cartridge, and you can adapt them really easily to Micro Four Thirds or APS-C. Doesn't quite cover a full frame sensor. Now, these are 2.8 constant. You have a lot of vignetting, you have very soft edges, and they have what bokeh I would describe as jagged. It's very weird compared to a normal lens. You don't get the smooth bokeh, you get strange jagged kind of bokeh. Either way, I think it's quite an extreme look, so that's why these are in this category. They're very small, very affordable, and you can get some very interesting looks from them. Next, a little DIY project. This is a spur Helios 442. I covered this in the classic vintage lens lineup, but this one I've actually reversed the front element of. It's a little hack that you can do. It's not too hard, but I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you really want to trash the lens, because there's always a chance that something could go wrong. And the effects are absolutely bonkers. I mean, the Helios lens has circular bokeh anyway, so when you reverse the front element, it just gets very extreme. This is very much an acquired taste, it's very surreal, and your results may vary depending on the quality of the lens and how well you flip the front element. But I quite like it, and if you've got a vintage lens going spur, it's quite an inexpensive experiment that you could try. On to perhaps my favourite category of all, the modern vintage lens. These are modern lenses made in the last few years that are very affordable, and they're designed to try and replicate the vintage look that we know and love. The benefit of this is you're getting a new lens, so you know that it's going to be reliable, it probably comes with a warranty, and on the whole you will get sharper, more cinematic results compared to some of these wild card lenses that I'm talking about. First, the TT Artisan 50mm f2. This is an APS-C lens. Now I have this in L mount, and I also have it in Micro Four Thirds mount. It's manual focus, and I do think the results that you can get from this lens are quite sharp and acceptable by modern standards, but also have that little bit of secret sauce that we're looking for. I do like the skin tones particularly with this lens, and the micro contrast is quite vintage-y in my opinion. And I should add, it's 50 quid. This lens is so bad good, I've got 3 of the blooming things in 3 different colours. I've got the red one and the black one and also the silver one. This is the Olympus body cap lens. There's 2 types of this one. You have the 15mm f8, which is this one, and then there's a fisheye one, which is largely considered to be a much better option. This one, the f8, well, it's the best photo you're ever going to take with a body cap. But it's a very strange lens. You only have one little focus option, which is infinity or 3 meters. I would consider this on the edge of being modern vintage extreme, because you do get a lot of heavy vignetting sort of characteristics with this lens. But it's super cheap. You can just leave it on your camera body like I do with the red one, and you can keep it in your bag, and then you've got quick access to your camera if you're not quite sure what lens you need. Full metal build quality. Little cute screw-on lenses. These are the TT Artisans Trio set. And fun fact, they are the prize for the Micro Four Nerds photo contest, so get involved with that. There's more information on my website. Suddenly, the lid fell off. So we have a conventional 17mm, which is pretty nice. We have a 35mm, and then the fave of mine is this hunk of glass, which I believe is a 50mm f1.2. It's just 100% glass. I really like them. So they're all manual focus, they're all designed to be very vintagey, and they're very much photography orientated. You have the aperture ring at the top, and it's clicky, like God intended. The image quality, I think, is very vintage, particularly with the 1.2 boy. You get a very nice sense of depth throughout these images. It's quite hard to explain, but I think they're very nice. Speaking of cinema lenses, next we have the Viltrox cinema lenses. These are T1.5, so they are the fastest cinema lenses that I currently own. They're very, very portable as far as cinema lenses go, and very heavy. It is like, oh, you could definitely kill someone with one of these in a pinch. That should be in every review. Can you kill someone with this lens? No. Yes. These have quite a filmic quality, particularly when you shoot wide open and it's a little bit softer. I use these quite a lot. These are my favourite so far in the cine lenses. You can enhance the cinematic feel of them by adding in a mist filter, which I do quite frequently. And of course, when you do stop down a little bit, you have quite a standard, more clinical lens as well. So it's, you know, get yourself a lens that can do both, is what I'm saying. Emily from the future here. I've just got one more last minute addition to this list, and that is just arrived, the Brighton Star 28mm. Full brass construction. It's a f2.8 full frame lens. You have this for your focus and the tiniest little aperture ring in the world. I've currently adapted it to L mount, but you can adapt it to micro four thirds as well. I'll put some photographs on screen. This definitely fits in the modern vintage category. And finally, in this category, I have this big old slab of glass, the Moment anamorphic adapter. This is heavy. This is ridiculous. It makes everything front heavy. You usually have to put it in sort of some kind of cage or rig so that things don't go wayward. It's only a 1.3 times squish, so it's not the most anamorphic stuff you'll ever see. You could even punch in and make it 16:9. You can adapt it to all different kinds of lenses. I've even adapted it to the Helios in the past. I mean, that looked very weird, but it did work. Oh. I wondered where that went. It was on the lens all along. So that's modern vintage. There's loads of options in this category, as you can tell, and it's something that I'm quite passionate about. But let's move on to extreme modern vintage. Now, this is kind of like the other extreme category where the lenses are very over the top with the sort of effects that you can get. And the first one is this CCTV mount lens. It's a C mount, very easy to adapt to micro four thirds, and it's a 25mm f1.4 TV lens. I bought this online for like 30 quid. This is the only modern lens that I've found that actually gives you pretty swirly bokeh, kind of like a Helios, only it's very, very over the top. I think in the right circumstances you could get something very creative from this lens, and I do like it. Also in this category we have this lomography set. These are a set of 3 lenses for micro four thirds that are literally made of plastic. Do not be expecting the world from these lenses, but they are very, very sweet. You even have on the back the ability to add in your own little gels. You get some gels in the pack as well, so you can change the colour and the style practically without doing it in editing. You have a fisheye, you have a 12mm wide angle, and then you have one that is called standard. Excellent. So these are sort of reminiscent of like a disposable film kind of look. They are very extreme in the effect by design, and you know, if you want to have something that's a little bit throwback, a little bit retro, these are quite fun to play with. The Twisty Boy! I had to mention this lens because when it is sort of behaving itself, it's a relatively decent full frame 50mm prime. But then if you want to add in a tilt, you can get some Toy Town tilt shift effect, and it can sort of replicate that swirly bokeh that you would see in some vintage lenses. It's definitely an extreme look for a modern lens, so it well earns its place in this list. So those are my filmic vintage look picks in all the different categories. Make sure to watch part 1 if you haven't already, and sign up to the Micro Four Nerds contest if you want to. It's free to enter always, and there's always cool prizes up for grabs. And more than that, it's just fun to get involved in the community and share some photography.